As we wait just a few moments for the live to start to populate up, let me just give you an idea of what we've got going on today. Today we're going to have a guest. We're going to have an interview today with Jacob Ward. I'm also, while I'm sort of getting ready here, I'm sort of checking the live stream to see if I can pull it up. There we go. If you can just bear with me for a second. Okay, so it looks like we're good now. So today we're gonna have an interview with Jacob Ward. Jacob is a former NBC News journalist. He's also written for CNN, PBS, Al Jazeera. He was an editor, a writer, and an editor in magazines like the New Yorker. Hey, Jules, how are you? And what Jacob is going to be talking about with us today is some pretty disturbing stuff. Hey, Paul, how are you? Um, it's some pretty disturbing stuff. Uh, we've all probably been privy or aware to a certain extent of the news reports that ICE has increased its surveillance capabilities over the last several months. I think a lot of us, though, have sort of heard those news reports, but kind of pushed them aside a little bit, just sort of heard them and thought about the concerns about what ICE is doing, but I don't know that we all sort of internalized it. I certainly didn't. I didn't pay a lot of attention to what ICE hey Irish Aggie, to the kind of stuff that ICE was utilizing. And we're going to go into that with Jacob because I'm just to read you some of the notes because I was preparing for this. There's facial recognition. There's things called mobile fortifying. There is cell phone and location databases. There's a commercial, a private commercial incentivized situation where ICE is avoiding getting warrants, judicial warrants, to be able to spy on non-citizens and potentially citizens by buying our data from companies, because the data that companies have on us is the type of data that if ICE wanted to get it on any of us, they'd have to get a warrant signed by a judge. So, so there's some very scary things going on in terms of the surveillance state that we find ourselves in right now. And I think when Jacob's not here yet, but when he comes in and I bring him on, I think you guys are going to be it's going to be very informative, but I think it's going to be fairly disturbing when we find out the details of what's going on. If we have time, hey Z, how are you? If we have time, being that he's a technology reporter, I also want to go into the AI boom or bust situation that we're facing right now. He's really an expert on AI and what's happening in AI at this point and where things stand with AI in general, but also with the fact that 50% of all of our GDP in the United States is being generated by 7 companies that are just doing multi-billion, multi-trillion-dollar deals with each other. And if those companies go belly up, whatever our GDP is now, what is it, 4 point something? it automatically goes to half of what it is. So if we have time to get into that, I want to do that with Jacob as well. Um, so I think it's going to be a pretty interesting session. Um, and I also just take. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little just distracted right now because I'm checking because I'm freaked out about this. What we're going to be talking about today. It is such crazy, crazy stuff, and it really is disturbing. Um, there's also an issue that I want to bring up to you guys. Jacob's going to touch on it, but I don't think he's gonna he's going to talk too much about it. It has to do with Lacey brought it to my attention. It has to do the New York Times reportedly. I'm trying to remember. I didn't take notes on it, so I'm sort of looking for my notes right now while we're waiting for Jason to join us. Oh, that social media companies. Lacey sent me a clip about this, and I wanted to kind of review it with you guys. Uh, the New York Times recently reported that the federal government, is subpoenaing social media companies for information about people, American citizens, anybody who are actively anti-ICE, whatever whatever that means, right? Whatever anti-ICE means. I just want to keep my hang on, guys. I just want to keep my email open just in case Jason may be running a little late today. I'm sorry, Jacob might be running a little late, just in case he emails me for any reason. So, for example, if you I frequently talk about ICE on social media. I frequently complain about ICE. I refer to ICE as the Gestapo, right? So if you do that, I guess consistently, uh, the federal government is subpoenaing Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and the rest of the the rest of the social media platforms to try to figure out who you are and to take your information and to do what with that. Is the intent to prosecute those of us that are um using our First Amendment right to free speech, where we are complaining about ICE? Is the intent to stifle us, to scare us out of speaking about ICE, to harass us because we speak about ICE? Um, and is there some sort of centralized database um, that the government has? Uh, is there some sort of centralized database that the government has that all of that information is going to be going into, all that information that the government is trying to access through a subpoena, um, and what does all that mean? So and Lacey had sent me she had sent me a message asking me those questions, and hopefully when Jacob gets here, he'll be able to answer them for us, because honestly, I don't know. I think when it comes to this surveillance stuff, I struggle with it for two reasons. One is just your typical bury your head in the sand reason. Like I don't want to deal with it, right? I just don't want to. It feels like there's so much to deal with. There's so much. Uh, the threats to our democracy are many, and just trying to process all of this surveillance stuff when these articles come out is overwhelming for me. But that doesn't mean I should avoid it. And the second point is, I've done a lot of this myself. We've all done a lot of this ourselves, right? I'm willing to trade a certain amount of privacy and a certain amount of freedom Hey Tina, how are you? I'm willing to exchange a certain amount of privacy and a certain amount of freedom so that I have access to conveniences. Like, so I have access to Alexa, and so I have, I can find out what I need to know. If I say, Alexa, what time is it? Or Alexa, what's the weather? I don't have to actually go through the effort of picking up my phone, as if that's, God forbid, such a difficult thing to do, right? Or the absolute convenience to be able to just buy from Amazon. Or, my wife gets very freaked out because when I shop at Whole Foods, they have you can check out with your hand, right? You can put your hand over the camera at the self checkout register, and you can check out that you could get your Amazon discounts that way, and you can just check out that way. So I do that, and the convenience of that is, I don't have to get a receipt that's automatically emailed to me. All I have to do is put my hand on this, above this sensor, and so I've given up so much of my privacy, in order to have these conveniences. So I so for those two reasons, I think sometimes when I see these stories or these articles um, about what's going on with surveillance and privacy issues in the tech space, um, I get a little, I tend to avoid them. I get a little antsy about them. So, hang on, let me just check one more moment, guys. I just want to see if I've got anything from Jacob. He may be running a little late today. Just bear with me, guys. All right, let me bring up I had some backup stories. I just got to find them. There's a story in Politico. Let me just bring up a backup while we wait for Jacob to join us. Hang on. Let me just pull up my new window. Oh, hang on. Let me just pull up a tab. Actually, just bear with me for a second, guys. There was a Politico story that caught my my interest today. If you guys can just bear with me for another second. Hang on, guys. Nothing in Politico. I don't remember where I saw it. So Stephen Colbert, that was the article. So while we're waiting for Jacob, let me just pull this up here. So when he hang on, guys, I just got an error message. While we're waiting for Jacob, hang on, having a little bit of a couple of tech issues here. If you guys can just bear with me for a moment. I'm sorry about the delay, guys. And I'm sorry about my tech issues. I had tech issues last time I had an interview too. If you guys remember, I had that when we had the interview with Eric, and I tried to bring him into the live, and I brought him in the wrong way. There we go. I've kind of got myself, for crying out loud. I'm sorry, guys. Just bear with me for a second. I've got one of the disadvantages of having a single monitor for everything I do is I sometimes nest these windows on top of each other, and it creates a lot of problems. Okay. All right. So while we're waiting, hey, Lacey, how are you? Jacob, I think, is running a little bit late right now. I do have your question teed up for him. I actually sent it to him. So once he's here, we're going to get into it a little bit. It's not something that he's been completely on top of, but he can speak to it. But while we're waiting for Jacob to join us, let's talk. Let me just switch into my main shot as well. Hang on. So while we're waiting for Jacob to join us, let's talk a minute about Stephen Colbert. NBC News reported, everybody's reporting this as well, that, CBS basically capitulated, right? CBS basically, Stephen Colbert did an interview with James Tallarico. James Tallarico is the leading Democratic candidate for to potentially be the next senator of U.S. Senator of Texas. Tallarico is, there's a few others, I think, there's a few other primary contenders on the Democratic side. Whoever wins on the Democratic side will either go up against Tim Paxton or John Cornyn, right? Tim Paxton is the criminal and currently the attorney general of Texas. He's also, you know, an indicted criminal who became attorney general and flatly refused to allow himself to be tried for his alleged crimes. Uh, to the point where the supermajority in Texas the supermajority legislature in Texas almost impeached him, but a couple of the MAGA extremists in there got a little skittish. Maybe Donald Trump didn't want him impeached. Um, so, uh, so he's still the attorney general of Texas, and he is an alleged white collar criminal himself, and he's just a complete MAGA scumbag. He's a horrible man. Irrespective, he is primarying John Cornyn. John Cornyn has been I don't know how many times he's been senator, how many times he's been reelected. Cornyn used to be a moderate, relatively semi-sane Democrat in the Texas as Texas U.S. Senator, but he's gotten over the years. He's kind of, sort of, begrudgingly gotten himself to be a little more MAGA. But now that he's going up against Paxton, who is who is the dream candidate for MAGA, he's a criminal. He's an extremist. He's a racist. He's a bigot. He's as corrupt as the day is long. He's perfect, right? Cornyn has been trying, not so successfully, to out MAGA, the attorney general, so he can somehow, save his seat. I think it's a desperate attempt, and I think Paxton actually wins this election, wins that primary hands down. But irrespective, the Democrats have a real chance of winning Texas this time. Texas is always red but purplish for the last decade and a half, the last 12 years or so. But I think this is a real, I think Democrats have a real shot at it this time, right? Especially with the validity of Donald Trump. And I've been so impressed with Tallarico on the Democratic side. He's a state legislator. He's now running for Senate. He is white, which they like in Texas. He is Christian, which they like in Texas. He is progressive, and they may not like that much, but he seems to be speaking to a lot of people. A lot of people in Texas seem to be hearing him. So, irrespective, I think he's the biggest threat to Donald Trump, the village idiot, or at least from Donald Trump, the village idiot's perspective, right? I think he is the biggest potential threat to Texas remaining Republican in terms of that Senate seat. Ted Cruz, I don't know when he's up for re-election. He's not going anywhere anytime soon, but the other seats. So Colbert recently did an interview with Tallarico, and that was set to air. Now, remember, Colbert is fired, but he still has to finish out his season. Remember, he's on CBS, and CBS has been kissing Donald Trump's ass forever now. They settled a lawsuit with the village idiot. They subsequently hired Barry Weiss to take over CBS News. She used to be a New York Times columnist, opinion writer, and there was a little bit of controversy because she was the one who talked about how Democrats, she wrote an opinion piece about how Democrats were engaged in cancel culture, and it got, things got very ugly with her. She seemed to become a Trump supporter or a Trump nut. She left the New York Times, started her own, I think it was called the Free Press or something, her own Substack, which became very successful. It was sort of libertarian, sort of Trumpian, sort of not, and then it became thoroughly Trumpian. She eventually was named the editor. She never did TV, never did anything in terms of broadcast news, and she eventually, the village idiot or whomever, had her installed as the editor-in-chief of CBS News. And now she sort of runs the show over there. And, bad things have been happening at CBS News since then. So Colbert does this interview with James Tallarico. And we find out, yesterday that the interview was pulled. Let me read you some reporting from CBS News. And as soon as Jacob, I hope he's okay. As soon as Jacob, as soon as I see him in the green room, I'll move us over to the interview. So if you just joined us, we're just waiting on Jacob Ward. Jacob is a seasoned journalist. He was a journalist with a reporter with NBC News. He's covered news for CNN, Al Jazeera. He's really an expert at the cross section between technology and government, and we're going to be talking to him about a couple of things. Not the least of which is going to be the surveillance state that's sort of evolving around ICE right now. So we're just kind of waiting on him, and as soon as he gets here, we'll bring him in. So, reading from NBC News right now, Stephen Colbert says CBS didn't air Representative James Tallarico's interview out of fear of the FCC. Let me just read a little bit of it to you. Late Show host Stephen Colbert said CBS did not air his Monday interview with Senate candidate Representative James Tallarico, Democrat of Texas, out of fear of the Federal Communications Commission. Colbert kicked off Monday night's show by almost immediately mentioning Tallarico's absence. So this is Colbert. We're just quoting Colbert in the article. He was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyer, who called us directly, that we could not have him on the broadcast, Colbert said. Then I was told in some uncertain terms that not only could I not have him on, I could not mention me having him on. So Colbert is told by CBS's lawyers that he can't have Tallarico on, and he's then subsequently told that he can't mention that he can't have him on. And because my network clearly doesn't want us to talk about it, let's talk about this. Good for Colbert. He's awesome. Me too, Lacey. He is fantastic. I say, it is fantastic. We love Colbert. He's fantastic. He's a great guy, that Colbert. CBS and the FCC did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The Late Show published the unaired interview with Tallarico on YouTube. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to be honest with you. In the interview, Colbert and Tallarico discussed the FCC crackdown, including opening a probe into ABC's The View after Tallarico appeared on the show. Quote, I guess this is Tallarico. I think that Donald Trump is worried that we're about to flip Texas, Tallarico said, which was met with audience applause. This is the party that ran against cancel culture, right? This is the editor-in-chief, right? This is the editor-in-chief who became famous because of her article, her opinion piece about cancel culture, right? So go figure. The irony is not lost on me, my friends. I think that Donald Trump is worried that we're about to flip Texas, Tallarico said, which was met with audience applause. Quote, this is the party that ran against cancel culture, and now they're trying to control what we watch, what we say, what we read. This is the most dangerous kind of cancel culture. The kind that comes from the top, Tallarico said. Oh, guys, I also want to, hang on, I want to switch the main shot here too, because I have a new one, and I would just want to, while we're waiting for, I think Jacob may not be joining us. So while we're waiting for Jacob, let me just check my email too to see if he sent me a message. Nothing yet. I hope he's doing okay. I'll see him at, if he doesn't make it, we'll try to reschedule with him. I'm sure he's also in the chorus program with me. So if I don't see him here, I'll see him at noon, and we'll figure out how to reschedule him on. I really, really, really would like to get him on. And by the way, guys, this is not working. like this, I know I'm like really close up. I'm like on top of you guys right now. and it's, this wide shot is a little weird. What happened was, I mentioned this in the live yesterday. If you guys may have missed it in the live where I had Eric, when I was bringing Eric over from the green room digitally uh, into the conversation itself. I completely blew out my whole I blew out the whole formatted design. I don't know how I did that I had for, not that it was all that great anyway, that I had for Xenocracy, that I had for this live streaming platform. And I was trying to rebuild it. My wife and I were kind of doing it together, and we were sort of looking at the way other people do this that have larger communities. We were looking at Tyler Cohen and a few others, and they kind of have these big, these sort of big things, and where there's a lot of them. I don't think I quite have it right. So we decided to sort of, both, I couldn't rebuild what I had, and secondly, I had to make some changes to where I put my camera physically when I'm talking to you, for a couple of reasons. One has to do with interviews and where the camera's located. But now this just seems like too much. And while since this is kind of, since the interview part is kind of screwed up here, maybe I'll just use this as an opportunity to kind of get you guys' feedback as well. Here is sort of what the interviews are going to look like. I think it works here, right? This isn't too bad. We're going to get back to Tallarico in a moment. You guys, I appreciate you guys being my guinea pigs to try to test stuff out. But this is sort of the new interview format. I think this works with kind of me here and the interviewer over there. But where I think things get weird is when I go to the main shot. I think I've got to fix this because it's just too much. And then this is let me see if I can bring this up in a second. This is let me fix this for you so you guys can see it a little bit better. This is the shot where I'm usually reading articles, doing that sort of thing. Oh, that's the old shot. Hang on, guys. Let me see if I can find it. Main shot 2. I didn't really properly organize this yet. All right, we'll figure it out, guys. I don't want to waste your time with this anymore. All right, we'll use this for now, and I'll go back to the other stuff. Thank you, GamerVet Dad. GamerVet Dad. Me too. GamerVet Dad. Let me know when you're free too. I want to do. Hang on, guys. You know what? This is not working. Let me clean this up. GamerVet Dad, if you're free this week, let's do another one. Here we go. This is the new shot. It's a little messy. It's a little awkward, but I think this kind of works, right? I mean, the thing is fucked up. The actual website is fucked up, but I don't know. I think this kind of works. I think the wide shot doesn't work. Gamer, though, if you're free this week, let's do another one. Let's do a follow-up live together. I think where we come together and we sort of chop it up it was really, really fun, and I would love to do that again. So I'll DM you later on this. Next interview, guys, I think is going to be an interview with somebody in our cohort. I don't remember his name offhand. I hope to set it up this week or next week. He is a progressive. He's in one of Virginia's local districts, and he is a progressive Democrat running in a primary in Virginia. Virginia is an interesting place right now because the gerrymandering fight right now for Democrats is actually in Virginia. You would think Maryland, but Virginia may be the next place where Democrats kind of stick it to the Republicans. For the Village Idiots gerrymandering efforts in Texas and Missouri and other places. I want to talk to him about that, and I want to talk to him. He wrote a great article, which we're going to talk about that when we interview him here on Substack, about progressive candidates. having to get progressive candidates, because it may not be it's not enough. Yes, it's enough that we save democracy in 2026 by getting the House and the Senate, but to really have some success and some significant changes in the country, we need progressive candidates, and we're going to kind of get into that as well. But let me just kind of wrap up. What's going on with Colbert. So Tallarico accused the administration. I'm sorry you guys can't read this, but I just have to. I'll fix the technical glitches there too. And again, I apologize, guys. I apologize for this. For this live today to be a little bit of a disorganized shit show. I will do a better job. Everything is a learning experience. And what I need to make sure I do a better job of is, in the event that a guest can't make it, because that's going to happen, I need to be well prepared with a full show. And I was not today. So I'm winging it, and this is it's a lesson for me. It's a growth experience for me, and I appreciate your patience. Hey, Boston Dave, how are you? So that will be. I will make sure that this doesn't happen again when I have a guest that can't make it, or maybe they're running late. I'll actually have a full show ready to go. Thank you, Tina. Thank you. And I know we're a community and we're like a family and we're all learning together. But I still value your time immensely. And so I'm going to make sure that I get this, right for next time. And yes, Raj, Jesse Jackson passed away. And we can bounce around to a lot of different stories today. Yeah, it's I worried about Jesse Jackson. I didn't know how sick he was, and I can't remember where I saw him recently. There was a it was, I don't know if it was a member of Congress that was meeting with him. I don't remember. Somewhere I saw video footage of Reverend Jackson, and he was meeting with somebody, and it was Don Lemon. I don't know if Don Lemon was at the Grammys. I don't remember where he was, but he saw Jesse Jackson, walked over to him, gave him a hug. Jackson was in a wheelchair. I don't know if he could speak. It was clear that maybe he couldn't speak. And it seemed that, he wasn't well. And, it's it's a sad day. You know what I mean? For Jesse, it's a sad day. We lost probably, he's probably the last of the old guards of the civil rights leaders, and of the old guard of the civil rights leaders. He is, he's run for president. You know what I mean? He's, I don't think he could speak, Roz. I think you're right. And, but you know what? What strikes me as different in this moment when I saw the news that Jesse Jackson had passed. In this moment of where our democracy is being threatened, our very democracy is at risk. Racism has become policy. Racism has become federal policy. Lacey, I'll get to that in a second. Lacey's asking about the Epstein in New Mexico. We'll get to that in a good question. I mean, I'll just tell you what I know, which isn't much. But, when we're at this moment where hatred and racism is policy to the point where the ICE Gestapo is out there and they're separating people of color from their families, and they're, torturing them, beating them, throwing them out of the country, in some cases, quietly killing them. They're murdering white citizens who are trying to stand up for them. They're beating the shit out of white citizens who are trying to protect them. So hatred of people of color, where this white replacement theory shit is standard government policy, where the president of the United States is such a scumbag that he posts a picture of Barack and Michelle Obama, a racist image of Barack and Michelle Obama, and then claims, "I never knew it was on. I didn't even know it was there. I didn't see it." Right? Um, when where everything is so undignified, unclassy, where everything is so trashy, for lack of a better word. Um, so classless is not a strong enough word, but where everything is so like that, when you have the passing of a man who has a life, who lived a life worth celebrating, a man who changed the world, a man who spent his entire life fighting for civil rights, fighting for equality, and winning, a man who found his way up to running to be president of the United States, right? A man, Jesse Jackson paved the way for Barack Obama, right? I don't think without Jesse Jackson, you might have had Senator Barack Obama from Illinois, but you wouldn't have had President Barack Obama without Jesse Jackson. So, you know, when he dies, and we lose a statesman who was also a civil rights leader, um, there's something honorable, right? In not I don't know how to. My words are kind of getting ahead of me. My mind and my mouth aren't working together. But do you know what I'm trying to say? Like there's in a moment of in an indignant moment, so many of us are honoring Jesse Jackson, right? It's a moment of dignity, irrespective of the indecency surrounding us. There's a moment of dignity. There's a moment of America, right? What is America? What should it be about? What is it about? What should it be? And Jesse Jackson, who I didn't always agree with him on every issue, um, but he comported his life with honor and dignity, and he had a life worth celebrating. And you know, it's a sad moment, but in a moment of just treacherous, treasonous, anti-American, racist, fucking ignorance. Having this moment to honor Jesse Jackson's life and seeing so much of that on social media, from those of us who are, we've been forced into the gutter. We've been forced to fight Donald Trump in the gutter, right? We've all gone. I mean, I've certainly gone down there, and you know, I've certainly gone into the gutter. I just think this is a moment of decency, for whatever that's worth. Anyway, back to let me see if I can figure. Well, let me finish. Let me finish the Tallarico stuff. Oh, I didn't know. Is Dave mad? Did I upset Dave? Let me get. Let me just see what's going on. Since we're kind of, Dave, I do. I have to admit, unlike Donald Trump, I am a bit of like Donald Trump. I am a bit of a narcissist, and I like to hear myself talk. And so the way I sort of handle the lives is, just so you know, if you're going to be joining us, I talk and I, talk for a while, and then I'll come in and I'll respond to comments, and and then I'll talk some more. And now that I'm starting to do interviews, sometimes depending on the interview, we'll be able to take comments during the interview. Sometimes I can't. But if I don't respond to you immediately, it doesn't mean that I'm ignoring you. It just means that, is talking about something else at the moment. So Dave said he brought profanity into the mainstream and he has no class. If you're talking about Jesse Jackson, I don't know I don't know if he did or not. I don't know anything about that. And I'm not being evasive or intentionally ignorant. I just don't know that he brought profanity into the mainstream. I don't care. I couldn't give a shit either. I fucking bring profanity into my lives 5 days a week. And right now, with maybe when President Biden was president, during the Village Idiot's first presidency, during President Obama's presidency, if one would have suggested to me that any statesman or woman who is using profanity consistently, I might have, been tolerant of an argument that fucking mattered. But not, you got we have this low class piece of trash in the White House right now who uses profanity all the time, and he uses it to emphasize the lies that he says consistently. So if you're right, and if Jesse Jackson brought profanity into the mainstream, I honestly could care less. And to suggest that, oh, you're talking about Trump. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't know what you were talking about. I'm sorry, Najiri. He did. Yeah, he did. So my apologies, Dave. I didn't know where you were going with that. Sorry to blame you for something you didn't do. And that's true, Gamer Vet Dad. Thank you for clarifying it. Yeah, because Dave, I'm always behind the chat. I'm always kind of like, 3 steps behind the chat because I'm usually talking. So bear with me, and I'll always apologize if I fuck up. And I fucked up with that, and I'm sorry for that. I didn't mean to. I apologize for misunderstanding what you were saying and kind of going after you. And by the way, Dave, also no offense, it's been a long time. I used to be on TikTok frequently, and it's been a long time since I've been on TikTok. And on TikTok, I've sort of conditioned myself to react fairly quickly to when the MAGA folks would hit me with something. And, I miss it a little bit. So because, there was a certain amount of entertainment, and I got fairly good at it. So I'm also, always hypersensitized to what might appear to be a MAGA comment. And, and I was clearly quick to respond to it. But again, again, thank you. I fucked up, Dave. I did. So I apologize for taking you into the gutter with me, and I hope you'll stick around with us and be part of this community, and forgive me for my transgression. I promise you it won't be the first, but I won't suggest you're part of the MAGA community again. That won't happen again. Anyway, but this has been quite alive so far. This is why I need to be adequately prepared when a guest doesn't show up. Anyway, let's get back to let me wrap up the Tallarico story. Then I want to get to I want to get over to Lacey's comment. We'll bring up some reporting. Let me just see if I can fix this. Since I'm just going to move my screen over here, since I think Jacob isn't going to make it. Let me just see if I can fix this for you guys, since this is sort of a test. If I can kind of fix the, let me just see if I can fix this screen for you guys. I don't know if I can or not. There we go. It's a little bit better, but not really what I want. But I want you guys to be able to see it. There we go. There we go. So at least I'll work on this, but at least you guys can see the article. So, and let me lock this screen so I don't screw this up. All right, back to finish Colbert. Tallarico accused the Trump administration of, quote, selling out the First Amendment to curry favor with corrupt politicians. quote, a threat to any of our First Amendment rights is a threat to all of our First Amendment rights. If you're just joining me, I know I've been all over the place this live. I'm going back to where we started, which is I'm just reading some CBS, NBC News coverage of the fact that it looks like the FCC, aka the village idiot Donald Trump, censored Colbert's show and wouldn't allow, and through the lawyers at CBS News, would not allow them to air James Tallarico's interview or Stephen Colbert's interview with James Tallarico. CBS's move not to air the segment comes as the FCC, the governor's media regulator, and most notably its chairman, Brendan Carr, have been particularly combative with networks that have drawn the ire of the president. Now, remind you, Brendan Carr was speaking in front of, I don't think it was the Oversight Committee. I saw some of his testimony with I don't remember which house. I have no idea which House committee it is. I don't know which House committee oversees the FCC. Gamer Vet Dad, that might be, do you know which House committee oversees the FCC? Anyway, Brendan Carr was saying he doesn't do this. There was no censorship of Jimmy Kimmel. He's not taking his orders from the village idiot, the president of the United States. He's only trying to do his job to make sure that everybody follows the rules. This would be another example of him supposedly doing his job to make sure that nobody follows the rules and not supposedly taking orders from the village idiot Donald Trump. Trump has for months suggested the FCC could, quote, revoke the licenses of television broadcasters. More recently, Carr, who was appointed by Trump to lead the FCC, has said that daytime and late-night TV talk shows, quote, must comply with the equal time rule regarding political candidates. The FCC's equal time rule prohibits radio and broadcast channels from hosting political candidates during an election without giving airtime to their opponents. During his show Monday, Colbert highlighted that news interviews and talk show interviews with politicians are exceptions. On January 21st, Carr released a letter warning networks about the rule, saying that he is considering eliminating exceptions due to the network's potential partisan motivations, but not limiting exceptions for right-wingers, just for, left-wing folks or pro-democracy folks. Colbert fired back at Carr on Monday, accusing the chairman of being motivated by partisan purposes. Quote, let's just call it what it is. Donald Trump's administration wants to silence anyone who says anything bad about Trump on TV because all Trump does is watch TV, Colbert joked. This comes after months. ABC pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live on the air indefinitely after Carr criticized comments the host made about the assassinated conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Kimmel accused, blah, blah, blah. We're going to see more and more of this, obviously. Carr is, again, making the argument that none of this is political. He's just trying to follow the rules. He's trying to enforce the rules fairly and equally. And he even defended when he was talking about the Jimmy Kimmel situation, right? Do you remember he said, and he walked it because he was being tough, because you have to be a pretend tough guy. You have to be an alpha male with a pretend big dick, right? To be, to matter in the Trump administration, right? So when he was talking about the Kimmel stuff, he said we could do this the easy way or the hard way, right? The hard way suggesting that he would revoke the licenses. He can't revoke the license. The FCC can't revoke the license of CBS, right? They can sue CBS for what, I don't know, but the licenses are for the broadcast networks themselves. That would be for the local affiliates, ABC, CBS, NBC, for broadcast networks, right? So he could revoke a license for a particular network affiliate. So he could say that, let's say the CBS affiliate in New York City, right? If they were to air Jimmy Kimmel, or they maybe with this Tallarico thing, maybe behind the scenes, CBS lawyers were being threatened. that that you're gonna hear from. I mean, I don't think that's what's going on here. I think it's even more corrupt than that, because Barry Weiss is clearly editor in chief of CBS News, is clearly in the pocket of the village idiot Donald Trump. He owns her financially. She went from, I think they bought her to get her there to make her the editor in chief. I think CBS paid something like $100 million for her Substack. Can you imagine anybody paying $100 million for Xenocracy? Right? They paid her like $100 million or some. Fact check me on that. I may be fucking up that number, but I think that's right. And then they made her the editor. God knows what she gets paid to be the editor in chief of CBS News. So he's bankrolled her. He owns her financially, and he certainly owns her politically. So I don't even know that this is so much Brendan Carr as it is Barry Weiss and Donald Trump. I have a sense that Congress, Gamer Vet Dad, let me just ostensibly, I'm just going to go through Gamer Vet Dad stuff here. Gamer Vet Dad confirmed by the Senate. Ostensibly, it is an independent of all, but Carr has been responding to the president, Congress, due to funding, which makes sense. So, as Ron Filipkowski, I think he summed it up in his, I don't have the post in front of me, but I think he summed it all up in the Blue Sky post yesterday. CBS is gone. It's gone. CBS is now owned by Paramount. Paramount is owned by Larry Ellison, or Larry Ellison's son. Larry Ellison is a right-wing billionaire MAGA troll. He's a Trump nut job. He's trying to build an entertainment for his trust fund baby son. He's trying to build give the Sun this entertainment conglomerate that is MAGA, that is not neutral in any capacity, that is MAGA news and entertainment, a MAGA news and entertainment conglomerate. They're desperately trying to buy Warner Brothers, both the studio and potentially now Warner Brothers Discovery. The studio has already sort of made a deal with Netflix. Warner Brothers Discovery is supposed to be its own independent company. Paramount is tried a what do they call that? That kind of takeover, a hostile takeover. It hasn't worked yet. They're desperately trying to get that. They have TikTok. So the village idiot wants this. He wants this. He desperately wants this. And as Tina said, they're gone. They're gone. Forget about Paramount anymore as a storied movie studio. It's over. They're going to make shit that nobody's going to watch. Forget about it. Forget about CBS News as a respectable news outlet of any capacity. It's gone. It's over with. We're going to start seeing what's the streaming outlet for CBS that they have? Is it Hulu? I'm not sure if I have that right. I'm pretty sure there's a fairly successful streaming outlet that I'm sure we're going to start seeing streaming right-wing shit. We'll see what happens with TikTok. The jury's still out on that. TikTok has been, hopefully when we reschedule Jake up to come back, he'll speak to us a little bit about that. He's done a lot of reporting about the TikTok situation as well. But it's over with. It is gone. And I think, and I'm sure Colbert, at some point, unless some cable news outlet like I don't know, MS Now or Netflix as a streaming service, or unless some other affiliate, some other organization chooses to pick up his show where Carr has no power and the village idiot has no power over there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Colbert on Substack. It would change the game completely. Substack would go from a place where you have, smaller influencers, political influencers like me. You have all of these refugees from cable news and broadcast news that have started their Substack. You have the larger independent influencers like Waj Ali and Lev Parnas and folks like that. But if Colbert were to come and start his own sort of Substack empire or social media empire, I think it would change the game. Change the game exponentially. So, we'll see what happens with it. But but I think invariably in the long term, I don't think they succeed in. Look, James Tallarico I'm sure this James Tallarico interview on YouTube, right, got more, and with the controversy surrounding it, got more looks and likes and views and attention globally than it could have ever gotten on CBS. It could have ever gotten on Colbert's show on CBS. This is where the power is. This is where it is. Like I think I had mentioned to you guys. I mean, in our cohort alone, our chorus cohort, collectively, I mean, I'm the smallest fraction of this with my social medias, but I don't know if it's 162 million. Or, I mean, the number of, just in this second cohort, in these 100 people or so that are in this chorus group, the second group, the reach is staggering. And again, you'll know some people. I can't mention who their names are unless I get permission from them, because some people want to remain anonymous. But there are influencers that are in there that you probably would know, and there are those that you don't. But they're not even the biggest pro-democracy influencers at all, and the reach is tremendous, tremendous. So I think I feel that if I'm going to prognosticate and sort of guess what we might see, if how this may backfire, censoring Tallarico's interview and the Colbert situation, and it being shown on social media, on YouTube as opposed to media. I think the backfire is going to be enormous. And I think all these multi-billion-dollar media buys, including the TikTok buy, including the Paramount buy of CBS, I think it all spectacularly backfires on the Trump administration sooner rather than later. And I think we're going to see the effects of that on in the midterms and before. So anyway, getting back to your comments here, GamerVet Dad, I know you had taken on Lacey's comment. I just want to see what you've got there, because I only know a little bit about this. I saw the reporting about the ranch, and I saw the reporting that New Mexico authorities were investigating the ranch, right? Epstein and the ranch. And I remember coming across reporting, some reporting about Epstein's use of that ranch, but I don't, and it being in the Epstein files, but I never connected all the dots or followed up on the reporting. So I just want to see what what you've got out of that, what you've got there. Hang on, I'm just gonna, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm passing a lot of your comments that I want to read, but I just want to see what Gamer's got on the ranch. You may be back too far in the chat. I have got to, and I have never had time to do it yet, guys, but I've got to figure out a better way to display this freaking chat here on Substack, because I can never find it. I can never find the previous comments that I want to find. I can't go back far enough in the chat. It never worked. Oh, thank you, GamerVet Dad. So New Mexico lawmakers unanimously approved a bipartisan truth commission to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch, seeking testimony from survivors and records about alleged abuse. Huffness is a former Republican Texas state senator representing the Dallas area. He has publicly identified as a MAGA Trump Republican in his 2026 campaign for the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. You know what? Let's pull it up, GamerVet Dad. Let's dig into it. Let's see if we can kind of jump off of springboard over GamerVet Dad's reporting. New Mexico to investigate. And guys, it's not just, if there's any reason to be heartened by these efforts, I'm out of tissues, guys. That's a problem. think I have one unused tissue in my pocket. Oh, I went to the freaking God. And by the way, guys, since it's only since I've already fucked up this live anyway, and we're just kind of shooting the shit here. I did go to the doctor yesterday, Tina. I did go. Irish Aggie, were you also the one? I don't know if it was Irish Aggie and Tina, but I did go. And my doctor, because my nose has been running. It's running all the time, right? But I had my son brought home the first cold, and I got it. And remember, I lost my voice for 2 weeks. And then I got over that, and he brought home the second cold, and I got it. And then I didn't lose my voice, but he and I both felt like shit for a few days, and then we both felt better. But I still had the postnasal drip and the snot and everything. And of course, I went to my doctor, and my doctor's a trip. By the way, my doctor hates Trump with the venom of 1,000 cobras. So half the time we talk about that anyway. But anyway, thankfully, my lungs are clear, so there's no pneumonia or anything like that. I didn't think there was. I feel fine. And I was like, what do you think? You think it's a bacterial? Should I take an antibiotic? And he's like, well, I'm going to prescribe you one, but you take it if you want, if you don't want. I was like, what does that mean? Dr. Kushner, what does that mean? To take it. He's like, well, I don't know. He's like, I don't know. He's like, we have viruses now. I've got people coming in with viruses, and some of them last a month. He's like, I don't know. He's like, so if you want to take it, take it. If you don't want to take it, don't take it. I'm like, that's unhelpful. And he kind of laughed. He's like, well, I'm going to be honest with you. We're always, I don't know if you have a bacterial infection. I see no indication that you have. Your lungs are clear. Your sinuses are clear. You're not sick. You're not running a fever. And we don't know we have so many viruses going around. Even as doctors, we don't know what the hell is what. So it's up to you. It can't be up to me. I can't. No. Because I don't like to take medicine, right? So I can't, it can't be my choice because, I'm not going to do it. That's what it boils down to. If my doctor is so non-committal, and he's a good doctor, he's very thorough, but if he's so non-committal and he's like, there's nothing wrong with you, really? But you might have a bacterial infection, but you probably don't. And, when I take antibiotics, inevitably, by day 5, my stomach is upset. I don't feel good from them. And again, I don't mind taking them if I need them because they get rid of the shit that you don't want. But, there's this whole thing about superbugs and taking too many antibiotics and you can't fight off the superbugs anymore, right? There's all this shit and I got to fucking worry about Trump, right? I don't need an upset stomach, guys. I gotta save democracy, right? I don't have time for this shit. And then my doctor, Dr. Kushner, who I love, I hope he's not fucking related to Jared, by the way. I just thought about that. I'm gonna ask him next time. Because if that's a deal. If I gotta decide whether or not to take my own fucking antibiotic, and he's related to Jared fucking Kushner, they don't live far away. Kushner doesn't live near here. We're right near New York. And I'm going to have a discussion. Anyway. My wife is picking up the antibiotic because we get it at we use a pharmacy at our hospital because our insurance is from the hospital she works at. And even my wife, Ritu is, oh, by the way, guys, we are planning, right? Ritu, myself, Miss Patty Ann, you're here. I still have to text you, Miss Patty Ann, and I will. But we're tentatively scheduled for Sunday. We're planning on Sunday to have our wellness thing. We're gonna figure out a time, and we'll let you guys know in advance. But it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, and I won't be talking that much. It'll be Patty Ann and Ritu, and you're not gonna have to listen to me babble about fucking snot. But I will text you, Patty Ann. I didn't forget about you. I just didn't sort of get the, because Ritu, me, and Patty Ann we're gonna do a phone call and kind of, because one of the things I did, and my wife warned me, I promise I won't do this to you, Patty Ann. But when I had her on for the one time, and she was new to social media, so she wasn't ready for it yet, I had her on we did a live, and we were on TikTok, and I cut her legs out from under her. I threw this stuff at her that she was not ready for. In my adversarial political, I went into interview mode and she just froze. And she was so pissed at me. So I need to she, myself, and Patty Ann have to get together first, so I make sure that I don't, bring shit up that you guys don't want to talk about. And secondly, she doesn't trust me. So we're gonna do that. My wife has no faith that I'm not gonna panic at the last minute and start talking about shit that she doesn't want to address. So anyway, I will get back to Patty Ann. I haven't forgotten about you. And thank you so much for doing this. And I hope you guys, I know Sunday can be tough. And it's going to most likely be Sunday morning. So I hope you guys can join us for a Sunday morning, because it's really, really going to be good. Anyway, so my point is that my wife, if the doctor doesn't tell me what to do, Ritu does. I can't be responsible. I'm only a 57-year-old man. I cannot take responsibility for my own actions yet. I'm a tip. As much as woke and liberal as I am, I am still an entitled, narcissistic, middle-aged white man, always in crisis, right? I just can't afford a fucking Corvette or a Porsche right now, right? So I can't take responsibility for my own self. Somebody, when it comes to fucking antibiotics, somebody's got to tell me what to do. And if Dr. Kushner's like, I don't know, you want to take it, take it. Thanks, doc. And then Ritu, I'm like, well, what should I do? And she's like, I don't know, do what you want. No! No! That's not how it works. I'm going to ask my son. He'll have an opinion for me. He'll tell me what to do. He just yelled, no, he won't. He's home, by the way. I've told you guys frequently, I am an advocate of public school, a product of public school. We send our son to private school that we can borderline afford, because we love the Montessori school, the way Montessori system is, and we send him to a Montessori school. But the problem is, they never go to school. They're off every other day for some shit. So he's off. They have an extra spring break. They go to school a lot. I don't mean that, but it feels like they have a lot more days off than the public schools. So he's home this week for whatever stupid reason. It's like midwinter break or some shit. So he just told me he's not going to tell me what to do with my antibiotics. I've now wasted more of your time, and I gotta go soon. And I just want to check and see if anything came in from Jacob. I hope he's okay, because I just heard from him earlier today. And he is not the type that would just disappear, so I'm a little concerned about him, but I will keep you guys posted. Anyway, New Mexico, this is the Guardian's reporting. New Mexico approves Truth Commission on alleged Jeffrey Epstein ranch abuse. By the way, thank you, New Mexico. Let's see other states. New York, Attorney General, District Attorney Alvin Bragg, Attorney General Letitia James. I don't know about Bragg, but I don't imagine that James is sitting on this. If Jeffrey Epstein committed crimes in New York, state crimes that the Epstein files have indicated, I have little doubt that Letitia James her prosecutors are investigating it. I'm sure they are. Obviously, in Florida, where a lot of horrific things probably happened as well, although I think most probably happened in New York, and also on Epstein's Island. I don't know what. I guess the crimes are only federal on Epstein's Islands. I guess a state. I don't know if a state. I don't know how that works. I don't know if a state if there are victims from a particular state, like say from New York or California or New Mexico, who were sexually abused on Epstein's Island. I don't know if that affords the state jurisdiction to investigate. I'd be curious about that. Gamer Vet Dad, any thoughts on that? But there are, I'm sure in addition to New Mexico, there are other states doing it, and in Western countries that are civilized and free. Shit's going on. There was some report. I was going to do some TikTok and Instagrams about this. I haven't had a chance to. France is doing some extensive investigating right now into French. I can't remember exactly who it is, but into I'll have to look. I have to. I could find it quickly, but I don't want to Google it right now. But into men who are alleged to have engaged in activities, whether they were inappropriate or illegal. France is investigating. We know that the president of Norway, has a former prime minister of Norway, has been indicted on corruption charges related I mean, the corruption charges sound like they're bribery charges and that sort of thing. But that was that investigation is directly from the Epstein files. There is investigations going on in Poland. Um, who the hell knows what's going to happen with the British government at this point? The whole fucking government could fall. So people are being held to account. Donald Trump, not yet, but we're getting there. New Mexico has approved a truth commission to investigate abuse on Jeffrey Epstein's ranch outside Santa Fe amid ongoing calls for transparency about the sex offender's crimes. The move by legislators on Monday follows the Justice Department's release of millions of investigated documents into Epstein last month, which has renewed interest in the financier's Zorro Ranch. Multiple women have said they were sexually abused on the roughly 10,000-acre, 4,000 hectare, sorry, I didn't mean to move that around, 4,000 hectare property. Law enforcement has paid little attention to activities there. However, authorities have raided Epstein's other properties, including his New York townhouse, Caribbean Island, Palm Beach mansion, and Paris apartment. But multiple state and local officials have said they were not aware of any federal search at the ranch. Hector Balderas, who served as New Mexico's attorney general at the time of Epstein's July 19th arrest, said in a statement that his office, quote, investigated activity that occurred in New Mexico that was still viable for prosecution, including contact with multiple victims. Balderas said his office backed off after federal prosecutors in New York handling the Epstein. I'm so sorry, guys. My son just walked in. Are you okay? Oh, don't worry. I'll feed you. You're not going to starve. Let me finish the live. Kid wants lunch. Balderas said his office backed off after federal prosecutors in New York handling the Epstein investigation, quote, asked we hold any further state investigation or prosecution of activity related to Epstein, as they communicated to us that they were already leading an active multi-jurisdictional prosecution. Emails released by the Justice Department in late January also state that Balderas' office, quote, agreed to cease any investigation into sex trafficking and share whatever they had gathered regarding sex trafficking activity with our office. A December 2019 email from a prosecutor to the co-executor of Epstein's estate stated that federal agents had, quote, not searched the New Mexico property. There also does not appear to have been any state or local law enforcement investigations into what happened on Epstein's property. A December 2019 email from a prosecutor to the co-executor of Epstein's estate stated that I read that already. Andrew Romero, a Democratic New Mexico State House representative who sponsored the Truth Commission legislation, said the committee will deploy subpoena power and testimony as well as official records to put the whole story together. The subcommittee, which must have 4 representatives from both major political parties, is expected to have a $2 million budget and run through 2026. That's no fucking joke, I don't think, in New Mexico. Gamer Vet Dad, what New Mexico is doing is because state charges hold and immunity cannot protect anyone. Amen. Nobody can be pardoned by the village idiot Donald Trump when it's state charges. The commission is funded by a settlement between New Mexico and Attorney General, funded between the New Mexico Attorney General and Deutsche Bank during an investigation of financial institutions' role in, quote, failing to identify the sexual abuse and trafficking of underage girls at Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro's Ranch. I can't think of a better use for those funds. Good for them. The announcement is among the latest steps that lawmakers have taken to understand how Epstein abused teen girls allegedly for years with near impunity. The Federal Epstein Files Transparency Act, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that's certainly encouraging and certainly helpful in this moment, because you have everybody in independent media trying to connect the dots, right? And you have some great, great, great reporters and citizen journalists doing the work here. And they're pushing a lot of that reporting up the pipeline into legacy media. You have legacy media to a lesser extent trying to connect the dots, depending on the news outlet and the particular news show on any given news outlet. But if we start seeing, again, New Mexico now, I imagine we're going to see New York follow at some point. I imagine we're going to see if there's anything going. I don't know if Colorado has any jurisdiction, if anything happened there. And again, I don't know if there's any jurisdiction for someone from New York, who might have been abused on Epstein's Island, if there's any jurisdiction there. But as these states, obviously Florida is not going to do anything with Ron DeSantis in charge, but with these states doing this work, that can only help the work that we are all doing in the independent media, and to a lesser extent, legacy media. So we'll see what happens. And then, there's what we talked about yesterday also, which I still haven't seen on legacy media. I don't know if it's going to find its way there, but which is the reporting by, I can't think of his first name now, but Schlesinger, his reporting that there is more than enough evidence to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, in a court of law proof, not just circumstantial evidence, but there is enough documented evidence in the Epstein files that have been released, which Schlesinger brought to our attention, that the FBI, to a certain extent, took the claims of sexual assault on at least one woman who at the time was between the ages of 13 and 15 by Donald Trump seriously enough to follow up and to interview her. And we have no idea what happened from that point forward. And we don't know when those interviews happened, but we know they happened. And we know that as late or as recently as this summer, Pam Bondi's and Todd Blanche's Department of Justice was looking at that, knew about it. They knew about the credible accusations, the credible accusation I'm not going to talk about. We read it last time. I'm not going to go into what it is again and what they did, what Trump is alleged to have done. I certainly think, I know he's capable of it, and I certainly believe the accuser. But there's not enough circumstantial evidence, even in the court of a public opinion, to prove that he did it. There's certainly enough circumstantial evidence to prove that he, in the court of public opinion, maybe not in a court of law, thus far, to prove, in my opinion, that he did abuse young girls, but that this particular incident happened. We can't go, I think it did. I would believe the accuser. I think he's capable of it. But I don't know for sure. But what there is enough evidence, I believe, to the extent that I'm an armchair pretend lawyer, right? That I, like Kristi Noem, cosplays being all these different things. I can cosplay being a lawyer. There's more than enough evidence to know that the DOJ lied, that Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche lied, saying that there was no evidence in the Epstein files that Donald Trump has credibly been accused of anything. There is evidence to suggest that Donald Trump has credibly been accused of something that the FBI investigated and followed up with an interview with the alleged victim and her attorney. So when you compare Donald Trump, where as the truth is coming out about him, with what's going on in these states, with what's going on in these other countries, as frustrating as this is, I think we're moving in the right direction. All right, guys, it is 12:28. I have to wrap the live right now. I am so sorry. I'll find out if we can reschedule Jacob. Maybe Jacob and I had a time issue. Maybe we mixed up the times, but I'll find out what's going on with him and find out if we can reschedule. But I apologize for having that interview planned and then it didn't go through. But we will see what we can do about rescheduling it. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, one live at a time. I'm going to head to the Daily Brief now to find out what's what in the world and what might be good to be covering right now. And I will keep you guys informed. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. And Pixie is here today, and she is entering the party as well, as she has her toy that she's ripped into pieces in her mouth. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Much love. Take care, everybody.